Good morning, children. This is my ninth video on the chapter Human Reproduction, and today's topic to begin is implantation. In my previous video, I had started with the topic embryogenesis, that is, formation of embryo up to blastocyst formation. The stages are five in number: cleavage, blastocyst, implantation, gastrulation, and organogenesis. The first and second I had completed till my last video, that is cleavage and blastocyst, right? So this is what I had done with you. Here, this is the cleavage, and here was the blastocyst formation. So stepwise I had explained. So today's topic to begin is implantation, gastrulation. You don't have to study. This is not mentioned in syllabus. And organogenesis we will study today. So let us start with implantation. The term implantation means attachment of blastocyst to the endometrium of uterine wall. Blastocyst is the structure that is formed here, the fluid filled cavity of blastocele, and still it is surrounded by zona pellucida. But the blastocyst increases considerably in size, digests a hole in this zona pellucida, and squeezes out of this structure, and the naked trophoplast, that is this naked structure with the green color, it now establishes contact with the uterine wall. All right, so this is what happens in the stage of implantation, and this is what we will study just now. Embryo reaches the uterus by the fourth day after fertilization. But reaching the uterus doesn't mean that it will immediately get implanted. No. After reaching the uterus, for about 2 days, it will remain free in the uterine cavity. And in the meantime, for 2 days, it will obtain its nutrients from the uterine milk. That is, some glands in the uterine wall, they secrete the glycogen rich uterine milk. So it will obtain the nutrients. Now, after about 7 days after fertilization, see, fourth day it descended here into the uterus, 2 days it is free. Now, on the seventh day, that is after 7 days of fertilization, blastocyst sinks into a pit or a depression that is formed in the endometrium of uterine wall, and it gets completely buried. So, the cells of trophoectoderm, that is this cell layer, the cells of this trophoectoderm, they secrete some lytic enzymes. And the same enzymes, they help the blastocyst to penetrate into the uterine wall. So it will kind of get very nicely hooked here. Now, the finger-like projections of the trophoblastic villi, there will be finger-like projections, you can see how I've drawn, right, of the trophoblastic villi of trophoectoderm, they interdigitate or they establish a very close contact with the endometrium, right? And this association or this very close association of embryo, the developing child, and the uterine wall is called implantation, right? So implantation is the attachment or the bond that has now been developed between the blastocyst and the endometrium of the uterine wall, right? So this association, we have understood how it happens. Now, immediately after the implantation is done, the hormone progesterone will help in implantation by inducing the uterine wall to secrete two hormones. Once again, once the implantation is done, right? So now the hormone progesterone in the female, it will help in the act of implantation by inducing the uterine wall to secrete two hormones which will help to get implantation very thoroughly done. The hormones are integrin and osteopontin. These are molecules for attachment or for adhesion. The end of blastocyst with the embryonal knob is oriented towards the endometrium, right? So here, this now finally leads to pregnancy. So implantation is nothing but the proper attachment of the embryo with the uterine wall. The progesterone, it initiated the secretion of further two hormones, and these are secreted by the uterine wall. Integrin, integrate means to join, and the other is osteopontin. This is also for adhesion. Now, after implantation, the cells of trophoblast, they secrete a hormone. We call this as HCG in abbreviation, or human chorionic gonadotropin hormone, right? HCG, the hormone prevents corpus luteum from disappearing. See, the corpus luteum should not disappear now, but it will continue to produce progesterone. So, who's we can say kind of affecting the corpus luteum? It is nothing but HCG. And how is HCG coming? From the cells of trophoblast. These cells, the trophoblast, which is now had made a kind of depression into the wall of the uterus, the same cells, they will secrete the HCG hormone, which prevents corpus luteum from disappearing, and corpus luteum continues to produce progesterone. This hormone makes endometrium thick and vascular. So the normal cycle of menstrual flow will be not held now, right? But the endometrium or uterine lining, it will now keep growing thicker and vascular. And this prevents menstruation also, or the menstrual flow, right? So this is the entire series of changes, children, from the time of fertilization, that is the fusion of male and female nucleus, till the formation of the blastocyst. And now we have talked about the implantation and the secretion of HCG hormone, or human chorionic hormone here, human chorionic gonadotropin hormone. Now, once this is done, the female is called pregnant, right? So, what is pregnancy? It is the period from contraception to the birth of baby. This is also called as gestation period, and it's a period of 280 days, roughly 9 months, that is 270 days plus another 10 days, right? So, this is all about implantation. That is, this point is over. The gastrulation we don't have to do. So directly we'll come up to organogenesis. See, before we start with organogenesis, I have something else to tell you, right? That formation of an embryonal disc, though this gastrulation is not to be studied, but one thing I must explain, that from this structure, that is blastocyst, now somehow the structure is going to become like this. Till here you have understood blastula stage or blastocyst. But now the inner cell mass, that is these cells, right? The inner stems, this will now form stem cells. This contains stem cells rather, which gives rise to all tissues and organs of the embryo. This I have already told you, that the baby is nothing but the developed structure formed from the inner cell mass. All right. Now, immediately after implantation, that is by the 8th day, the cells of inner cell mass, they are organized in two layers. You can see like this. The two layers are epiblast. Epi means above. So the two layers you can see, this is epiblast, and the other layer is hypo. Hypo means lower. So this is the hypoblast. And they together form a flat embryonal disc, right? The hypoblast, this is like a primitive endoderm. Primitive means the first form endoderm, and it is formed of a layer of columnar cells. You can see this. Now, small cavity appears between the two layers of epiblast. That means a region starts elongating something like this due to a cavity formed, which grows on bigger and bigger, right? Here, you can see the diagram clearly. And this now develops into amniotic cavity. So this is very important to explain. Maybe the details will not go into gastrulation, but it is really important to tell you how the structure like this has now become a structure like this. Once again, how did it become? The embryonal cells which are going to form the baby in future, right? These are having the stem cells to give rise to all kind of tissues and organs in the baby. But after the 8th day, the cells of the inner cell mass will organize into two layers, the epiblast and the hypoblast. These now start getting a cavity developed, that is the two layers of epiblast. You can see the presumptive ectoderm. Epiblast is going to form the ectoderm later, and hypoblast will form the endoderm later. So cavity develops between the two layers of epiblast. This grows bigger and bigger, and now will be called as amniotic cavity. All right. So let us come straight to organogenesis. Here I am going to give you a table like this. This table is not given in your textbook, children, very clearly, because organogenesis means formation of organs in the baby. Just now the baby is looking like this only. There's nothing like a shape of a baby. This is looking like a mass of this kind of cells. But what really is going to happen and at what stage that the child starts developing and taking various features? So the first is events and time period you have to study in this table, and this is not given in your current textbook, children, so please write these 6 points very carefully. The first is human pregnancy or the gestation period, which is of around 9 months. Embryo's heart formation, you're talking about organs, children, so remember, embryo's heart is formed after 1 month of pregnancy. Third is development of lymph and digits of fetus. Development of lymph and digits, that means the fingers or the of heads of hands and legs. So these will be formed at around end of 2nd month of pregnancy. Then the fourth point is most of the major organ systems, they are formed. Example, limbs and external genital organs, they get well developed. And at what time? The end of 12 weeks. That means the first trimester, right? Roughly 3 months. Coming to the fifth point, the first movements of the fetus and appearance of hair on the head are usually observed, and this takes place around 5th month. And finally, the body starts getting covered with fine hair, which is a mammalian characteristic. Eyelids, they separate, and the eyelashes, they are formed. And this takes place by the end of 24 weeks, that is the end of 2nd trimester, that is here, right? So this is everything that you have to learn, children, because this has been very clearly given in your syllabus that you have to learn about these and at what time this is happening. And as I told you, this is not in your textbook, so write and learn it carefully. So this is all about organogenesis, or the formation of organs in the young child. So that completes the process of embryogenesis, children. So this is what we are ending now with. The last topic was organogenesis, and here we complete everything as per the syllabus till here. The next video we will talk about placenta and its functions. So that's all for just now, children. My next video will continue with placenta. Thank you.